WrestleMania 41 takes place on Saturday and Sunday at Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas. We're going to make our predictions for WrestleMania Saturday. And then tomorrow we'll make our predictions for WrestleMania Sunday. So if you want to make sure you get those for night 2 of WrestleMania 41, hit that subscribe button, turn on your notifications so you know when that video goes up tomorrow. But let's start with, again, the Saturday lineup. And we start with a match that we thought was going to perhaps main event one of these nights of WrestleMania 41 after Jey Uso won the 2025 Men's Royal Rumble match and now will challenge Gunther for the World Heavyweight Championship. Things have really escalated, as we know, between these two in the past several weeks, with Gunther, a brutal attack on Jimmy Uso, rubbing his blood all over him. Jey responding with what I thought was one of his better promos ever, maybe, in WWE. And now the seriousness has really gone up a bit between these two, and everything is at stake for Jey as he tries to get vengeance for his brother, but also as he tries to capture the World Heavyweight Championship. To me, this has all been built for one thing, right? It has been built for that big moment for Jey to win the title, because you can't really do it the way they've done it and have Gunther beat Jey yet again for the fourth time. And I don't think that's the direction that they're going to go here. I think Jey has to win this match. And if this is one that does start WrestleMania 41 on Saturday, let's say this is the opener, given the fact that usually that's how it works, where maybe, you put the second biggest match at the start. We know the main event, which we'll get to here in just a bit. But I think Jey has to win this match. If he doesn't, I have no idea what the plan is, because Jey has kind of been set up to win this. And I think he finally wins the World Heavyweight Championship and beats Gunther for the first time. And now we see where both men go after that. But to me, the prediction on this one seems pretty clear-cut. Speaking of potential new champions, we get to this one, which you want to talk about things escalating a bit. Well, we know that's been the case with Charlotte Flair, the Women's Royal Rumble winner, going to challenge Tiffany Stratton for the WWE Women's Championship. And we all know what happened in that infamous segment now, a couple weeks ago on SmackDown, how this entire feud has gone between these two, with these two just going back and forth, and it's just been, quite frankly, at times, it's been all over the place, right? But I feel like they got it a little bit back on track last week on SmackDown as they really started to lean into it, which we knew WWE would do. We knew they would lean into all the stuff that came out of that infamous segment with, the verbal jabs one way or the other with these two. And so they're leaning into it now. And that's the way it should be. Talking about the unprofessionalism of Charlotte Flair and Charlotte attacking Tiffany and all of these other things. That's going to be your setup now, as we still have one SmackDown to go. We'll see what happens between these two before, WrestleMania Saturday. But I think for this one, it's kind of a dynamic where it seems like all that support is going to be behind Tiffany retaining this championship. I am just in the belief that Charlotte is going to win the championship. And I don't know that is, again, the direction that a lot of people are going to like. But I feel like this is one where, and you're going to notice a theme as we talk about some of these championship matches, this could be what, maybe somewhat feels like SummerSlam of last year, where you have quite a few changes to the title, and it kind of starts off that new direction for lots of different stories, perhaps heading into the post-WrestleMania season, into the summer, and maybe towards SummerSlam, later on in the summer. So I feel like Charlotte winning probably gives you more options to work with here in terms of Tiffany trying to chase to get the championship back. It gives some different opponents now, maybe for Charlotte. It puts Tiffany in a different spot to where, again, she is kind of in that mode where now she's chasing and people want to see her maybe get the championship back from Charlotte. And so I think Charlotte wins here, and I feel like they will absolutely play into that. More heat, right? Give her more heat by not only doing perhaps what we saw in the promo exchange between the two, the face-to-face, all that, but have her actually beat Tiffany. And then let's see how that heat sort of elevates for Charlotte. So I'm going to pick Charlotte Flair to win the WWE Women's Championship for whatever number of times that will be now for her. So did I mention title changes? Because there's another one that could take place here as LA Knight defends the United States Championship against Jacob Fatu. And, well, this is one that, again, if you're going to look at this on the surface, it seems somewhat predictable that Jacob Fatu has to maybe find a way to just steamroll LA Knight here and win his first singles title in WWE. And when you think about this entire evolution of Jacob Fatu and what he's done ever since he debuted, really. I mean, think about it. We've been talking about this guy so much, how much he stood out and really separated himself from a lot of people in WWE. He feels like one of the more unique guys that they have. Well, LA Knight's, still pretty over, right? You're still getting great pops for LA Knight. The crowd is still behind him. And him, getting back the United States Championship from Shinsuke Nakamura was not a big surprise. We knew that LA Knight was going to get that title back at some point. But, I just mentioned about the possibilities, whether if it's a Jey defeating Gunther and what that leads to possibly for Jey in the future, whether it's Charlotte beating Tiffany, what does that lead to in terms of newer kind of stories that you can work with? Jacob Fatu beating LA Knight gives you another sort of fresh perspective here if you're WWE to say, all right, now we can go this direction. Now we can go that direction. And maybe that is where, you tie Solo back in and, whether this being a World Heavyweight Championship feud between Jacob Fatu and Solo Sikoa, maybe it's more the United States title, which, is not the worst thing when you think about just how top heavy things are right now. When you look at all the potential World Heavyweight Championship challengers at the top, Solo's gotten his opportunity. Jacob Fatu will get his opportunity at some point. But I think it all starts here for the Samoan Werewolf. I'm going to pick another title change and Jacob Fatu defeating LA Knight for the United States Championship. Now, you could have some shenanigans where, again, Solo tries to get involved. He costs Jacob Fatu the match. That's a possibility, I suppose. But I think overall, having Jacob Fatu win in this setting at WrestleMania is going to do much more for you than just having Solo potentially screw Jacob Fatu out of the championship here. But Fatu's also someone that doesn't need a title necessarily because he's simply a badass and he doesn't need it. But I think he's going to win it here. So give me another title change here on this particular show. Have I mentioned title changes? Yes, I'm doing this again. The War Raiders are going to defend the World Heavyweight Tag Team Championships against the New Day. And this is another one where I'm thinking about it and I'm just like, hey, this seems pretty obvious, doesn't it? That if you're doing this match on the card, I feel like it is there to give New Day a big sort of shining moment. They had their shining moment this past year when they had the whole deal with Big E. One of the probably still best segments I think WWE has done this entire WrestleMania calendar year when you think about just what they were able to accomplish with that. But I still think this is a scenario where if you're talking about starting a new direction here after WrestleMania, starting your whole, next storylines as you head towards WrestleMania 42, then I think that New Day winning here just makes the most sense. Now, the only wild card that could come in play, sure, is if you have Big E were to somehow get involved here, maybe that's part of some payback or something like that. That could be something that plays out. I don't think he's going to get in the ring and, destroy Kofi and Xavier Woods necessarily because we don't think that Big E's cleared at this point. But if it is something where he gets involved, sure, you could probably flip it here and say, all right, this is the one that surprises a little bit because you had the Big E involvement. But I just tend to think that, this was kind of the moment, and we were almost wondered, hey, were New Day going to get those tag team title shots earlier? Were they going to win the titles earlier after the turn on Big E? It didn't happen, and so now you've been building up kind of for this big moment, I think. And so, to me, New Day winning is probably the best choice when it comes to what you have moving forward, and maybe that's where eventually Big E gets involved, whether, however that dynamic plays out. But I think them winning the titles is probably the first step towards getting, back in that direction of maybe getting Big E back into this thing, not necessarily as a wrestler, but somehow involved to keep that story kind of going in the long term. So another title change. I mean, at this point, what are we? We're looking at 4 for 4 on title changes so far. So maybe I'm just picking all title changes because I'm like, hey, at least, maybe I'm 2 or 3. At least I'm going to get some of them right. But it just does feel like these are ones that, you sort of expect to change hands here at WrestleMania. That may be the story going into night 2, is that look at all the title changes and what does that mean for the champions on night 2? Well, we'll make our predictions for that show tomorrow. But for now, give me another title change here. All right, there's no title changing hands in this match, but there could be masks changing hands as Rey Mysterio is going to take on the legend himself, El Grande Americano. And we cannot prove that El Grande Americano is Chad Gable. So it's unfortunate that Mr. Gable did not get a WrestleMania 41 match, but in his place, it will be El Grande Americano getting his first WrestleMania singles match ever. It's a big accomplishment, but to me, I think Rey Mysterio is going to beat him, and I think Rey Mysterio is going to unmask him, and I feel like that has to be probably the payoff here, right? But at the same time, I'm like, well, could they get a little bit more mileage out of this? They keep this thing going post WrestleMania, where maybe it is El Grande Americano unmasking Rey Mysterio, which we've seen before and wouldn't have as much of an effect. But you do feel like the whole way they built this, right, is for the big unmasking to reveal whoever this is underneath this mask, Mr. El Grande Americano. So that's the big mystery here. Who is it? Who's under the mask? I think we're going to find out at WrestleMania 41. So give me Rey Mysterio to defeat Mr. Americano here. And the only way I would say this could go in the opposite direction is if you do kind of have both, where Americano gets the win, and then afterwards is when you get maybe the LWO, and American Made kind of going at it, and then that's where they do the unmasking. That could be something you do too, just to kind of give, a little bit of a victory here to Mr. Americano. But I think Rey gets the win, and I think he unmasks Americano, and that's going to be my prediction for this one. Don't have a strong opinion on this one as maybe some of the others, but this is one that I could see going both directions, but I'll give Rey the win here. All right. This one, I think, is, to some people, probably feels pretty predictable, but I'm going to give you a couple reasons why I don't know if it should be as predictable. Of course, it is Jade Cargill taking on Naomi. And really, I think the story of this has been that Jade has gotten the upper hand quite a bit when we talk about kind of everything that's happened from Elimination Chamber on, right? We get the big reveal that Naomi's the one, responsible for the attack. And we had said a long time ago, it seemed like that was one of the clear directions that they were going to go in. They didn't swerve us. They didn't do anything like that. They made it, hey, this was what happened. Now it's just a matter of seeing how Bianca Belair gets back involved in this whole deal. But I think this is one where it's like, hey, it's Jade versus Naomi on the biggest stage, WrestleMania, and this is where Jade gets another big win, right? I think Naomi's been so interesting since she's had this heel turn where using all the caution stuff, I think that is something to me that I find it more intriguing if she somehow gets a big boost of momentum here with somehow maybe just a quick pinfall, something like that on Jade. Cheating, right? It's a heel. Like, she can cheat to win. I find that direction way more fascinating than maybe just having Jade straight up beat Naomi here. But at the end of the day, I still am probably going to pick Jade. But I think Naomi winning is to me, I would find it more interesting if she wins, because I think that moving forward, there's a lot of kind of fun stuff you can do with that. And I'll connect that into something for night 2. We'll talk about the triple threat match, Bianca, Rhea Ripley, and Io Sky, and I'll connect this match to it, because I think there is something that sort of ties into that when it comes to how that match is going to play out. But to me, I think Naomi winning is a lot more, like I said, appealing, just to see how, how she moves forward and how it ties in Belair, but also how does Jade kind of respond. But I just tend to think that they're probably not going to have Jade lose a one-on-one match, no matter how good Naomi's been in this heel role, over the past little bit. I just don't know if they're going to have Jade lose this match on the biggest show of the year in a singles match. So I'm going to pick Jade to get the victory in this one. And that does lead us to the main event: Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins, and CM Punk. Now, if you could probably sense, I have a little confidence in some of these other picks. This is one where I think you could absolutely go any single possible direction, and you can tell a story out of it, right? Like, you have a fine story to tell with any of these three men winning. And of course, you can start with Punk, right? Where he's gotten Paul Heyman in his corner. And now that was the favor. And this is the big thing that sort of helps Punk get to that next level. Not just main eventing a WrestleMania. What a moment for CM Punk. But winning the main event of WrestleMania, and somehow, again, probably helping that lead him to something bigger, whether that's the WWE Undisputed title, whether it's the World Heavyweight Championship. And these two are connected moving forward. That's a dynamic you can work with, right? Well, Roman Reigns, a lot of reasons you can make for Roman Reigns to win this match, because, he's been frustrated, he's been upset, and everybody's just wondering, okay, how is Roman Reigns going to be able to go through this match without Paul Heyman, without the wise man in his corner? He's going to look over there and be distracted by the idea that Heyman is still over there cornering for CM Punk. And that is going to continue to elevate that frustration for Roman Reigns and all these things, right? And so he lost the main event of WrestleMania 40. This is where he gets his win back, WrestleMania 41. And you can tie it into the story that, hey, even without Heyman, we saw a new side of Roman Reigns, and that was what allowed him to take it to a different level, and he still was able to win. But to me, the most interesting part of this, and the person I'm going to pick to win this match, is Seth Rollins, because I think Rollins winning is, like I said, with some of these others, sets up the more must-see, probably, road moving forward if it is Rollins who wins. Now, we know if he does win, that's where people are going to wonder, how does this favor that Seth Rollins has brought up in back-to-back weeks on Raw, how does that play into whatever happens in this match? And I don't have a great idea of what that is. I've seen a lot of ideas, sort of bantered about as to what this could be with Seth Rollins. Maybe it is as simple, right, as a simple betrayal that Paul Heyman is not there for Roman Reigns in this match. He's there for CM Punk, but he realizes that maybe the best choice right now for him is to go with Seth Rollins. And Rollins stopped short of hitting him with a stomp. Rollins standing there holding the chair on this past week's Raw, right after he had taken out Roman Reigns with the chair. Punk had been taken out. And Rollins could have easily just swung it at Paul Heyman, and that'd been it, right? But both times, Rollins spared Paul Heyman. He spared him twice. And maybe that is where Heyman repays the favor, because we can see that Heyman's okay repaying the favor for CM Punk, even if it means leaving his tribal chief for the biggest match of the year. Heyman has proven that he'll do that. So now will he do that for Seth Rollins? Whether Heyman is involved here or not, whether you get some kind of tease that leads us into, again, the post-Raw WrestleMania or post-WrestleMania Raw or anything like that. Even if you don't go all the way with telling this full story just yet, to me, I think Rollins of this group probably needs this win the most. And I think Rollins has been doing some of the best work of his career during this entire build to this. And I know some people may think that's a bit of an exaggeration because he's done a lot of good work in his career. But I think Rollins has been great in these promos and really just kind of playing off this dynamic that really has felt like it's Punk versus Reigns, right? But it's not. And I think that's where, to me, even with Rollins standing tall, I always worry about picking the person who stood tall on the previous television show before the PLE, because we know how that's gone. Go back to the Attitude Era. It seemed like every single time the person standing tall before the pay-per-view, he was the person who lost. Well, Rollins stood tall, but I still think he's the best choice for the winner here. And like I said, I don't have as much confidence in this one because then you go any direction and make it kind of fascinating. I think, to me, if I pick the order of confidence in who wins, I'd probably go Rollins 1, Reigns 2, Punk 3, because I think Punk has kind of gotten what he needs out of this match. He's gotten the main event. He's gotten Paul Heyman. He doesn't really need to win after having both of those things, right? So it comes down for me to Rollins or Reigns. And could be wrong, could be Punk, could be Reigns, could be Rollins. We don't know, but I think this is the most unpredictable match, maybe of WrestleMania 41 weekend period. But I'm going to pick Seth Rollins as the winner at WrestleMania 41. All right, guys, I appreciate you watching. WrestleMania 41 Night 2, Sunday predictions coming tomorrow on the channel. Hit that subscribe button. Turn on your notifications. Hit the like button as well. Always helps out the channel. And let me know your predictions. Who's going to win each of these matches for WrestleMania 41 Saturday?